Yeah, some new residents to the neighborhood. So we got the brisket still doing its thing in seasoning, so I'm gonna get our rig set up. What I mean by rig is my Oklahoma Joe rig. So I got the side smoker doing its thing. I got the basket in there with coal, and I typically use oak and birch for the cook pit, but for the smoker I use either cherry or apple. I got a whole bunch of cherry ready just to help me with the smoking process. I got the dampener door open on the side. I got my pail just in case there's too much heat and I need to evacuate some of the coal from it, just so I don't burn the brisket or destroy it, because you can only cook a brisket, or you should only cook a brisket, between 225 and no higher than 250. Okay, so getting my pan configuration ready. I got to clean off the grates, I know that. I just want to get the heat up, and then I'll scrape the grates and everything and see more cherry. So welcome to the neighborhood, guys. There's a duck fight. Well, there goes our neighborhood. All right, so we got our grill configuration set up with the pan that's gonna sit under the brisket. So what I'm gonna do is add 2 cups of water, and as you can see, the chamber box is nice and hot. So we just added 2 cups of water. I'm also gonna add a cup of pineapple juice, and then later on I'm gonna add some mango juice to this, just to get that sweet smoke flavor into our brisket. So I'm about to add the pineapple juice, and then I'm gonna add the brisket to the fire, and then we're gonna start our smoking process. So I got a cup of pineapple juice. Pour it in there as well. And just look at that. Nice natural fire, cherry wood with a little bit of oak briquettes that I also use to get my temperature up. And I've also got my cherry sitting on here drying. That way, if the fire does go down, I can move them real quick, add them to the fire, just to keep it at a consistent temperature of anywhere between 225 and 250. All right, so finally we've added the brisket to the fire. Fat cap side up, and I've also got the tip facing the firebox. And if you remember some of the pieces I cut off for the fat cap, they are right there. Waste not, want not moment. That's gonna give me some really good flavor too when that heats up slowly. So, yep, I get it. Some of the seasoning is dripping off into the drip pan, but that's also gonna add a lot of nice flavor to it once we close the lid and let it smoke. And yeah, another waste not moment. I have some more seasoning that we added. The thyme, the ginger, the Scotch bonnet pepper. Oh, there's another piece. Add that down there real quick. So yeah, I slid that puppy in there. So there's our brisket. That looks beautiful. Some of you might say, oh, that's too much seasoning and this and that for a brisket. You're gonna ruin the flavor of it. No, we're actually adding flavor by doing that to it, because all of that's just gonna soak into it. So we're just gonna cover the lid and let it do its thing, while our wood also smokes on the side and gets ready, just so I don't lose my temperature. Look at that. Ready for rub-a-dub now. All right, so hour into the cook. We're just hovering between 225 to 250 on the brisket, on that probe on the rig. And then this probe on the rig, which is further towards the smoke box, is between 275 and 300. I really don't care about, if you can see my hand, this section of the rig right now, because that's a lot of heat and that's where it's forcing its way in. But as you go this way through, you see it actually, you know, has a decent temperature. So I did add a log, and I'll show you to the smoker box. I'm not going to show you the brisket because I don't open it. I just set it and forget it. All I'm concerned about is my temperature. And this is anywhere from a 5 to 6 hour cook. You know, so as you can see with the smoker basket, I've got all that nice coal. Let me just turn this. I've got all that nice coal going on down there. Put that in there as well. And it's just doing its thing right now. So it's applying smoke. And let me close this down and just give you an idea. And I'll use a fork. So the smoke comes in through this chamber into the main chamber, and it starts to just work and roll its way out to the stack. And the stack has been wide open. And it just blows right through and just cooks your meat, smokes your meat. I will be adding probes in a bit, and just to get a proper internal temperature check on the brisket. But like I said, I ain't opening that for at least another 2 hours. So we're an hour in. You saw the smoker box and what's going on there. Got my log, let me put it back on, or my fire stick that's going to just stay on top of the smoker box and dry out. That way when you get it in there, it still creates that nice smoke and continues to apply heat to the brisket. So yeah, this even dropped down again to 275. And like I said, this is about 225, but the brisket's like right there in between this area, and it's just doing its thing. So stick around. Brisket. All right, still at a great temperature. I'm gonna dial it down a little bit. So here we're just dropping a little bit below 225, and I want to be in between 225 and 250. So what I've done is added another fire stick to it, and that's going to ignite and bring my temperature back to where it needs to be. So stick around. Nope, not opening it, not showing you what the brisket looks like. I'm going to close that down. You just got to trust the process. So that'll rise back up. That's doing its thing from there. The brisket is right in the middle there, and it's about 2.5 hours now on the grill, smoking, and we're just gonna let it smoke. All right, so 3.5 hours into the cook, and yeah, still doing its thing. Still got a really nice temperature. I'd say it's doing its thing at about 225 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm actually gonna open it now. 3.5 hours in. Ooh, look at that smoke. Look at that smoke. And I'm also gonna spritz it. So I got my trusty rusty spritzer here, and it's got mango and pineapple juice in it. So I'm gonna definitely get that sweet and heat out of it. And I'm gonna spritz it, and I'm also gonna throw some technology in there. So just give me a second, because I'm gonna add the probes, but I'm gonna check my firebox to the right. So I am warming another piece of cherry wood here, which is really tough, and I actually like cooking with cherry more than apple now. This is a really solid wood, although I'll take whatever I can get, because I've used, and let me just take a quick look. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So a piece like this typically lasts me about an hour. So I'm gonna rest that on top, come back over the brisket, and just look at that. And then I got the pan below that's just got all that flavor. And remember the trick that I had mentioned with the fat cap? So I got a cast iron skillet there, and I just sat the fat in there, you know, let it render out, give me a little extra smoke for the brisket. But this is definitely a wet rub that we've done, and I can guarantee you the flavor in this is going to be nice. If you like brisket this way, you can make it, yeah, with salt and pepper. I've had it that way, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. It's gonna dance. You know, it's almost like that fist thump, you know, to your palate that just hits you with a little heat, hits you a little sweet, but still has the juiciness and flavor of the beef in there. I wish you guys could smell this right now. So I'm just gonna put my probes in. So I'm gonna put my probes in the tip, and I'm gonna also put my probes in close to the flat part of it, just to kind of get an idea on what the internal temperature is. So stand by. I'm going to throw some technology into this cook right now. So I've got my barbecue gloves. That way I can manipulate the meat. And I got my Thermo Pro internal temperature gauge, which is a technology. It's kind of magnetic. It's really cool. I'll show you that in a minute. And then I have my 2 probes. So just for all intents and purposes, I want everything to stay clean. I am going to hold the meat and just slide that probe in. And then grab the other probe and slide it in this section. And then I want Fahrenheit, I don't want Celsius. And let's identify the probes real quick. Let me just put the glove down right here. So this is probe 1, and this is probe 2. And as you can see here, right now, I've got a temp of 140. So I'm gonna adjust my settings now to 190. So probe 2, whoops. Bring it down to 190, and then we're gonna let it sit, and we're gonna let it do its thing until it gets up to about 220. And it definitely will. So I'm losing a lot of that smoke right now, which is not something I want to do. So just let me grab my glove and just look at that. Let me pick this up for a second, pick you up for a minute. Look at that. So the probes are in. Just the whole overall look of the meat and the way it smells right now is so good. I mean, I can't wait to sink into this. 5.5 pound brisket. And they say for every pound you cook it for an hour. You know, so this has been on for 3.5 hours, but it's starting to get that char. So I figured I would open it up to finally give you guys a look. And actually the dry areas that you see there, I'm just gonna spray it with a little mango pineapple sauce. You know, you can also smell that spur tree seasoning on it, man, I tell you. I can't wait to taste that because it's soaked in. And then the pan below is just, it's just dancing. Everything is just dancing. And you can see some of the seasoning on top. I think I see sprigs of rosemary, garlic, Scotch bonnet pepper, the 2 types of onion that we had, ginger. So this is gonna be a pretty tasty brisket. And like I said, I get it. People do the salt and pepper and add maybe a little Worcestershire sauce on that. I just decided to do it a different way with the Jamaican seasonings and juices that I am familiar with. You know, just a little spin on something. So I'm gonna give it another 2 hours and check on it, you know, every hour just to see where it's going. Within the second hour, I'm probably gonna pull it off, wrap it in some butcher's paper, and then put it back on for maybe about half an hour. Then pull it off and let it sit for half an hour. So stick around. Making brisket on Just a Rad Life. Yeah, so we still got our wood doing our thing on the side box. Still running around 250 degrees there, 225 there. And the internal temp of the meat, I just thought I'd throw some technology into this, is 144. And that's on the point and it's on the flat. So throwing a little technology into this. You know, it's a brisket and they're not cheap. I think 5 pounds cost me about 70 bucks USDA prime beef, and I want to make sure I don't spoil it. So at the end of the day, we're using that, and that's going to help at least secure that I do the brisket properly on the Oklahoma pit that we're side smoking. So you just see all that nice smoke still coming off that stack. I'm pretty sure we're going to get a great smoke ring off of it. Been spritzing it with a little mango and pineapple juice, but we're doing pretty good. 4.5 hours in, we are 144. I'm going to wrap it in a little bit, but I want it to get up to temp. And thanks for checking out the channel, Just a Rad Life. Please like, share, and subscribe, and share any of the comments below. I know I had mentioned earlier in the chat that, you know, my favorite places to eat brisket was in London. I've had it in New York and that, but if you know of any places, let us know where it is and I'll go check it out, because I do like to travel as well. Brisket on my Oklahoma Joe smoke pit. We're trying to get this up to 190 degrees internal temp. So I'm going to close that down. And then we've removed the foil drip pan that we had with the pineapple and mango juice. And now we just have the brisket, but we've positioned it towards the chimney of the grill. So we're gonna let it sit in its last few phases of this cook. And then again, remember that little trick I showed you with the fat? Why waste it? Get that flavor, man. Get the flavor. It's all about flavor for this cook. So brisket, and you can see that beautiful color that's added to the brisket. Now, yep, I get it. It's still a little moist, but that spur tree oxtail seasoning and the other salt, pepper, garlic. I'll make the list at the end. I'm so excited. This smells so good. But you can see the almost finished product here. You know, we've got a little bit more to go. This cook is taking a little longer than I had actually projected. We're about 5 hours in now, and it's worth it because brisket is better slow smoked. And this is what we're doing here. We're slow smoking it, letting all the fat render off of it, letting all the juices absorb inside the meat, and just getting that clean smoke through it. So let me bring this back down because I kind of believe I left it open a little too long. We've got this hovering around 200 now, which is really good, but I added another piece of cherry wood to it. So it should continue to get us to that point that we need. And this is about 200, so we're good. You know, yeah, I thought this would be ready in about 5.5 hours, but this looks like it's going to be about a 6 to 7 hour cook, you know, but I'm good with that because I'll wait to taste good brisket, you know. So we're going to let that mango and pineapple get in there and just be all nice. So stick around. We're doing brisket on the Oklahoma cook pit. Slow smoke, boop, boop. New tenants enjoying some feed. Yeah, I said feed, not weed. We don't do that around here. Not that there's anything wrong with it. So, getting back to the pit, because this is about a brisket. And man, this is a long cook. I gotta remind myself why I decided to do a brisket, because it's not the easiest meat to do, especially if you're smoking it. You know, you can throw it in an oven and it makes an equally great brisket. There's a lot of tricks you can do, but I just decided to do it on the Oklahoma Joe. And this is where we're at right now. So hovering at about 250 temp wise, and the meat is on this side, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then we are a little high here, but I'm okay with that because it's at the top of the chamber of the smoker. So I'm gonna lift it up now, and oh, wait a minute, let's do the internal temperature. So probe 1, which is on the tip side, is 154, and the lower part, which is the flat side, which is probe 2, is 147. And it's not the biggest brisket in the world. I mean, I'm not going to do an 8-pounder. I'm not going to do a 10-pounder. I thought 5 was appropriate because I'm the only red meat eater in the house. I think my son may want to try some, but we'll figure that out when the time comes. And he may only want a piece, but why am I going to be sitting on 8 pounds of meat for when 5 is a little easier? I'll make a great sandwich with this when it's said and done, and I'll post that on my Instagram and TikTok. And wow, transition here for a minute. That is the fat that came out of the fat cap. I am still using that for flavor. You know, it is charred, it is dark. I burnt the hell out of that, you know, and it's still gonna give me great flavor from my meat. So this is almost ready to throw into the butcher's paper. Ready to pull it off, put it into a pan, and my process is I'm going to wrap it in some butcher's paper and let it sit for about a half an hour. So if you look at that, that's the fat cap side. The point the flat, and then we'll be cutting here. And then I'm gonna flip it over. That's the undercurrent side, which is fine. And we'll bring it up to temperature. We got this up to about 159, 160 degrees. And I'm gonna turn it, fat cap down. And look at the back of that, how nicely that is. I'm gonna wrap it in butcher's paper. Let me take off the gloves real quick. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add it back to the grill for another moment, another hour in the butcher's paper. Let me get rid of this pan. Add it to the grill for another hour and let it do its thing. Keeping in mind, and it doesn't have to be wrapped any specific way, but this is fat cap up. So we're gonna add it back to the grill and we're gonna let it do its thing, so stick around. Brisket. And reminding ourselves that the tip goes to the right, which is closest to the heat, and the flat goes to the left, which is, you know, not as far close to the heat. Nonetheless, what the butcher's paper does is it almost guarantees you that you'll keep all that flavor in there and you'll have that moisture. I better close this down. Look at how that's kicking up now. Let me close that down and finish here. So we probably have, and I keep jinxing myself with this, so I'm not going to take it off until it hits 190. You know, I can just leave it and monitor my fire, keep it closed, because you just got to trust the process. So as I indicated, we got it wrapped in butcher's paper. It's doing its thing. All those juices are still soaking in it. It's going to stay moist. And stick around, because brisket. So added another log. We are about 7 hours into the cook, and it's a really slow cook because we're still doing it around 250 degrees. And if you look, my goal is to hit 190. I'm currently at 153 at the point and 165 at the flat, and that's just because the point is thicker than the flat, so you'll get that really cool flavor. The good thing about this is, though, time is nothing. Your internal temperature is your goal. So I keep saying, you know, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, and we're now on our 7th hour. It's not about the time, it's about the internal temp. And you really have to keep, well, left this open, but that'll be good smoke. You really have to keep stoking the fire from the smoker box in order to get your internal temp. So 7 hours, we've let it sit for a bit. We wrapped it in the butcher's paper. That also decreased the temperature internally for the brisket. However, we were able to get it back up to 153 after we let it sit and we wrapped it for a bit. So, you know, stick around. We're still hovering around 250 degrees on the cook. I am not going to lift the lid because that will affect my internal temp, meaning it'll make it drop. But brisket on the Oklahoma Joe. All right, so we've hit 190 on the point of the brisket, and as you can see on the flat, we're at 199, which I'm okay with because it's like a roast, so different temperatures in the brisket are fine because different people like it in a certain way. So let's lift it up, and wow, look at that. Got the butcher's paper, a nice brown, all that moisture is still in there. And let me turn that off. So we've got it where we need it to be now. So the butcher's paper is nice and brown, and I'm just gonna take it to that next step. So waste not, want not moment. We kept the foil pan that we had, and I'll show you why in a second. So we got our barbecue gloves, which I got from Geek Home on Amazon. And we are gonna put the brisket there. Let me turn that off. And then I'm gonna bring it inside. We're gonna wrap it in foil, put it in the oven, but the oven's not gonna be turned on. I know certain people use a cooler for this, but I just use an oven. You know, it still helps that temperature go up. So we've actually hit 194 now with the brisket. Take a look at that. as far as internal temperature. So we got it off at the right time. So this was a slow cook at 225 degrees, and it took me about 8 hours to get it here. So I'm gonna wrap it with foil and leave it for another hour, which is 9 hours, and we should be able to bring that internal temp up to about 200. So we're now back inside, and just to re-verify, I got my gloves on, it's a little slippery. That is the temperature of the brisket right now. So what I'm gonna do is I've got 2 sheets of foil, and I'm gonna remove the brisket, still keeping it fat cap off this time because I don't want to remove the probe. So let me take my gloves off. Hopefully this isn't that hot to burn my finger. So I'm gonna put it in the foil and just let it rest and bring the temperature up to the desired 220. I think some people even take it to 225. I'm gonna flip this. Set around there. With that, lift up the probes. And then just wrap that foil around the butcher's paper, leaving my probes in. And the brisket is still cooking. So it's still, the internal temperature should technically still be climbing. Whoa, foil is kind of hot. Now what I'm gonna do is a waste not, want not moment. I'm gonna put it back in the foil tray that we used. Then I'm just gonna rest the temperature gauge to the side here so I can see it. And open my oven that's not on. So the oven's not on, it just acts as a cooler, if you will. Close my oven for about another hour, and then we're gonna be ready to eat this brisket. So remove the probes. Let me just slide it out of the pan. It's been in the oven for about a little over an hour. It goes to that side. And this is just kind of the reveal. I got my barbecue gloves here. And the whole reason behind this process is to let the meat soak back in all that juice that we had added to it with the spritzer, meaning the mango spray, and then a lot of the seasoning. This thing really did what I wanted it to do. And oh my goodness, you can see by some of the moisture already on that butcher's paper. Now, and the whole trick to this, I know I had said, oh, 5 hours, 6 hours, but the whole trick to this is just to get it to 190, 200 degrees. Now, I had gotten it to about 192 on the point side and 196, I believe, on the flat side. I gotta review the video, although I'm saying it now, but it was close enough in range to where we needed. So if you look at the butcher's paper, nice and moist, I'm gonna take my time and pull that off because I don't want any of this, oh my God, juice to go away. And I'm gonna leave it in the foil for now, but look at that, peeps. Look at all the juice dripping off of the butcher's paper and everything. So I was able to, wow, I don't even want to throw this away, but you know what? I'm gonna have to. So the whole idea behind this process to let everything soak in, and as you saw before, the juices just came out on that. And you know what? I'm gonna actually lift it up and make a bit of a mess with, hang on, let me try a little bit first. Look at how that just kind of pulls off right there. It's kind of like a burnt end. Oh, that's good. Okay. So then what we want to do is cut with the grain, but I'm going to cut the point off first. All right, so let's get it off the foil and let's get it onto the actual cutting board. And then, look, we still got some of that juice in the foil as well. Just going to put that here. So what we want to do now is find the grain. So I already know this is the point here, or the tip, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to slide it in there and just give it a diagonal cut that way, just to show you what the inside of this piece of beef looks like. So here's the point with all that fat, and look how juicy that is. You push that and the juices are just coming out of it. You know, really nice cut of meat. So, and I get it, it's a 5-pound brisket. It's not one of the big boys, but this will probably last me, no word of a lie, about 3 months, or depending, 2 to 3 months, depending on my craving for brisket. So I'm just gonna cut there. And then give that a cut there, and I'm gonna sample it. But as you can see, oh my God, look how juicy that is. So we've got a great, let me go to this piece first. So with this, we've got a terrific smoke ring. So you see the smoke ring there? Coming around here, we've got a little bit of the fat. Adds a certain flavor to your brisket that, you know, some people like. I wanted to kind of spice it up a little bit because I'm from the islands, and in Jamaica, we do like things with a whole heap of spice on it. So in this, you can actually taste the Scotch bonnet pepper, the ginger, the scallion. Oh my goodness. Oh, that just pulls apart. Good beef. Really good beef. One of the burnt ends here. Yeah, it's just got that hot and sweet thing going. You can taste the mango juice. Different style brisket. Probably one of the best briskets I've made. Taking all things in consideration that I hadn't had brisket in a while. Flat now, I'm gonna cut the flat where your burnt ends are. And just kind of, man. You know, you want decent sized slices in this, but this whole thing is really cooked well. And yeah, even, I know I threw a ton of seasoning on it. You know, and that was my intention. I wanted all that flavor to soak into the beef. You know, this is a nice piece too. Let's see if I can, look at that. Just push down on the knife and it cuts right through. I'll do it on this other slice too. So, wait a minute, burnt ends. I gotta try this. Some of the part, this piece, these pieces are just falling off. Oh my God. Oh, it's so good I forgot to put on the knife. Wow. Yeah, man. Those flavors. And yeah, that had a hint more of this birch seasoning. I'm just gonna put my hand on top of it, on top of the knife, and just push down. And it just melts. This is like a hot knife in a stick of butter. This goes right through. That's how tender and juicy this brisket is that we did on the Oklahoma Joe smoke pit. Now, my pit is about 5 years old. I've had that pit forever, and I would recommend that pit for anybody. I've gone through other pits. I'm not gonna mention any names. I'm not into this in other companies. Moist, just tears right apart. And I've made brisket multiple ways. This is my first time doing it this way, and I'm actually enjoying it because of the flavors in that. We threw a whole bunch of seasoning on it just so we would ensure that it would soak and present itself this way. This tastes like a pepper beef or, you know, a little fire in there. So it does have a little bit of kick to it with the Scotch bonnet pepper, and you can taste the ginger, the brown sugar, a little bit of sweet and heat. But at the end of the day, just a different way to do brisket. So I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. I'm probably gonna do a sandwich with this. I'm probably gonna do a large taco with it. I already spoiled the surprise, but it's not gonna be on here. It's gonna be on my TikTok or Instagram channel. So check the link in the info box. It'll direct you there when I post that, and like and follow us on there as well. Shout out to my friends in the UK again. The best brisket or corned beef brisket that I've had is at Borough Market. And I've also had some in New York at the Carnegie Deli. But if there's any other brisket place that you guys know about that makes really good brisket that we should check out, post it in the section below, because I do like to travel and I do love food. So thank you for checking out Just a Rad Life. This episode was on brisket on the Oklahoma Joe Smoker. Walk good, and bye for now.